everybody, this is Tony.
And this is Paul. We're coming at you from the Friends for Life podcast, where we discuss the ongoing lives and issues of people with developmental disabilities to spark positive change in the field.
And we have a lot of fun doing it.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Friends for Life podcast. Thanks for tuning back in. Today, we have a special guest, Kelly, who is the program manager for Kaitlyns Cottage, a respite care facility, which we are excited to learn more about today. So, Kelly, how are you doing this afternoon?
Hi, Kelly.
I am doing great. How are you guys doing?
Excited for Christmas.
Yes, I can see that looks like a Christmas-esque shirt.
Yeah.
That you...
we have Christmas cookies tonight, starting in about an hour, so we are all festive here.
Jealous. We have no Christmas cookies. Tony, where's the Christmas cookies? Come on, man.
Actually, we got some sent to us from Canada. I don't know. I'm networking that much nowadays. I'm getting food from Canada. So,
well, Kelly, I was looking at Kaitlyns Cottage, and it looks like you guys are doing some really awesome stuff. So, before we get into a lot of the more deep questions that we always end up getting into here on this podcast, why don't you let us know a little bit about yourself? How did you get involved with Kaitlyns Cottage and the disability field in general? Because it's not a very common path, you know.
Sure. And I don't think that my path was very common to even get here either. My education is actually, I have a bachelor's degree in education, as well as one in athletic training, so sports medicine. And then my master's is in health education, public health. So I initially started off really thinking that I was going to be working in athletics and working in the sport field. Interesting enough, I look back at my path and just activities and things that I was involved with, and it was there. Like, to get to this point, it was all laid out there. I just didn't realize it at the time. In my sports medicine world, I took the opportunity to be involved greatly with Special Olympics, and as a clinician, going out to, like, for instance, Sunshine, and helping a physical therapist out there with some of the therapies and things going on. I also spent a lot of time in my educational world working with IEPs and students with learning disabilities. Again, just not really something that I thought I would end up doing. When I went to get my master's degree, it just, because I already had a teaching certificate, they kind of created this interesting educational program for me. And I took a lot of public health classes. So did a lot of things in focusing on just accessibility and adaptations and things like that. So when I started off, I worked as an athletic trainer, and then took some time as a stay-at-home mom to raise 4 kids. And then when I was trying to, think about what I was going to be when my kids grew up, and if my path was still the same, it just happened that Kaitlyns Cottage was being built a couple of blocks away from my house. So I just started to see, things going up, all of the information in the paper about the dream for this facility, and immediately reached out and thought, I'm just going to throw my resume out there. I did a lot of volunteering as a stay-at-home mom, working with family supports and stuff like that out there. So it just sort of was like, I don't know what they need, but if my resume matches something, then maybe they will call me. And that's exactly what they did. And they called and said, I don't know where you fit. We have a program manager currently. We have some other things. But so they initially had created ProMedica. When I say they, I mean ProMedica. They initially created a position for me around family supports. And then it just evolved over time, and I moved into the manager role. So sort of a path that just a winding road. But again, when I look back at just the interests while I was in college and working on my master's degree and just volunteer opportunities and stuff that I did, they really did focus around the special education population, the special needs population. And then I was able to just kind of pull that together here at the cottage. And, certainly my medical background helps. We have individuals that have medical needs. Yeah. And then again, just all of the work that I've done in education and then surrounding people with special needs. So just all kind of blended together, and then just sort of learned and created along with Kaitlyns Cottage, into my role that I am in right now.
Well, one of my favorite points that you brought up in that whole thing was you put yourself out there. I think,
yes.
One of the things Tony and I are really big into is just going for whatever, not everything has to be all lined up perfectly. And I think in a lot of people's minds, everything, they just kind of like have this imaginary plan where things just go in order and they work perfectly. It's like, that's not usually how things work. It's usually a, hey, I'm going for it. Like, and whatever happens. And I commend you for that, because that's something I think a lot more people need to learn. And,
yes.
Kaitlyns Cottage is beautiful. You guys have a 3D tour online, which anybody can go look at. I'll put a link down below in the podcast. And it's really awesome. I was looking through there earlier, and you guys do provide a lot of services that are important, because respite care is something that I think a lot of people need at some point or another. So can you maybe, for the people who aren't familiar, which, in this podcast, in this field, they probably should be, but, maybe there are people out there who don't really know what respite care is. So maybe give a brief explanation of what that is.
Sure. The term respite by definition means a break. And that's, something, that takes energy and effort and, is sometimes trying. So you take a break from that work or that aspect. And that's exactly what Kaitlyns Cottage is. I like to look at respite on both ends. Not only, of course, for the caregiver. This is a 24/7 job. You're signed up for a lifetime when you are a parent of somebody with special needs. But on the flip side of that, we have the individual, and I like to always say that we all need a break from the people that we live with.
Yes.
Whether
I
it's
feel that.
Our parents, our kids, our roommates, whatever the case is. And, and so our individuals are also looking for respite, a break from, their lives, a break from their work programs and, school and all of those things that, individuals are in. And so that Kaitlyns Cottage really was designed around that idea of just providing enjoyable, meaningful activities. We know, and I know as a parent, again, I mentioned, 4 kids. I can recognize and empathize with the fact that as a parent, leaving your loved ones, your kids, with somebody else, that isn't you is very, very difficult to do.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine that it just compounds when, you have somebody as vulnerable as some of the folks that we care for, the inability to communicate or defend themselves or, speak up or whatever the case is, for their own needs. That's a big thing to do. And so our goal at Kaitlyns Cottage, first and foremost, is that, again, I mentioned I live really close to the cottage. This is my community. I am close here. I have been here since we opened our doors, and my kids go to school in this community. My husband works in this community, and, it's more than just a job for me. And if it's not good enough for my kids, it would never be good enough for somebody else's. So that's what I just throw out there to begin with. And I hire staff that are meant to be here. People always ask me where we find our staff, because I have phenomenal staff and have been able to, as our staff move on, a lot of them are in college and they, move on to occupational therapy, nursing, education, whatever, course that they're in. How do you replace somebody that was so fantastic? And, where do you find your staff? I'm a faithful person, and my answer is that I don't find them. I really believe that God finds them for us and brings them to us, because they are phenomenal people and are here for a reason. So, when you're asking somebody to care for your most vulnerable family member, it's very important that that you're leaving them where they're cared for well, where it's safe, where they're having a good time. And when you can, as a caregiver, check off those boxes, that's when respite happens. Because otherwise you're worried the whole time. Or, are we meeting their needs? Are they being fed or, correctly? Are they having a good time? All of those things. We work with the caregivers directly. They are the experts. We are, here to learn from them. And so we spend a lot of time with the caregivers and the parents and just going through needs and, all of the special little tips and tricks about that person. And I think that helps with allowing the caregiver to, take a step back from the caregiving role. We all need respite. That's, from anything that we're doing, that's for sure. And, and I do think it's important for a caregiver. You get on, if you were to take an airplane ride, you would get on the airplane and a flight attendant would tell you, in the event that, the oxygen masks drop from the ceiling, you need to put your oxygen mask on first before you help somebody that might be traveling with you. And I think that's what respite is. It's the opportunity for the caregiver to put their oxygen mask on, so that, when they turn or return to providing care, that they're rejuvenated, they're rested, they're ready, they're better caregivers. Because if you wait to put your oxygen mask on, then you're, potentially in a situation where, the caregiver is not able to provide that care anymore. And so that's kind of how I see it. And, we just really work with our families to help alleviate a lot of the stress and guilt sometimes that comes along with asking for, extra help and extra hands. But I think when they get here and they know that their loved one is so excited, and we kind of have a curved path, like road that comes back to the cottage. And many of our families will say that even their, nonverbal individuals will start like jumping in their chair or squealing, when they round that curve, because they know they're coming to Kaitlyns Cottage. And many individuals are asking, for Kaitlyns Cottage to be on their ISPs so that they, have it in there that they want to come to Kaitlyns Cottage as part of their life plan. So, respite's pretty cool. I think it's necessary. It's needed. There are not enough respite opportunities out there.
That is very true. And, that was honestly the reason you and I started conversing with one another, because I'm the type of person, when I see a need, I push to try to make that need accessible. And if I see an opportunity for that need and I can help, I want to be a part of it, but I want to look at the people who are doing it great. And like you mentioned, Sunshine, and I really appreciate Sunshine and Ann Grady and the work that they do and how they do it. They're very respected. They've been around for many years. But then there's also your small mom and pops agencies who've been around a long time. And respite service, I've seen two sides of it. I've seen very poor care that is just put together in a sense that, it's for an emergency, and it's not even meant to reproduce those feelings that you were saying.
Yeah.
But now I think smarter minds are getting together. We're seeing the way that like Kaitlyns Cottage does things, and it's going to help create more opportunities and avenues. So I think you guys help make the blueprint, which sounds really awesome.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think that just the statistics alone show that, caregivers should be nervous, for turning their loved ones over to people that they, even people they do know. The statistics are just, unfortunately, not great on abuse and neglect and all of that stuff. So, that's not going to happen on my watch. That's for sure. And I hire people that know that, that's just not something, we have exceptional care and we love our participants and get to know them on a personal level. And, provide social activities and all kinds of fun things so that when, they, leave here, they want to come back the next time and they're looking forward to it. So,
can you give us an example of some of the activities that you may have lined up for some individuals?
Sure. So I mentioned we have Christmas cookies decorating this evening. So it's kind of our Christmas party, if you will. And we just have dozens and dozens and dozens of cookies, and individuals can sign up specifically for that event and come in. It's a 3-hour time frame. We'll have dinner and decorate cookies, have music going, and maybe play some games, things like that. So that particular activity is a good example. And, at the same time, however, we have an individual that's been staying with us for a couple of days. So, he's here for kind of an extended respite. And yet we'll schedule some shorter time frames of fun things to do. We have a bus that was donated to us, so we take outings and trips and go bowling and putt and things like that for sure. We have 4 summer camps during the summer that are 3 days. They're day camps, but the individuals, of course, we can take several of them overnight if they've got a commute that would make it difficult to come. Girls' nights, guys' nights, just sensory days and, pumpkin carving and holiday stuff, all those kind of fun nights, game nights. We do social clubs. So usually our Wednesday nights are cooking club. We also have game club, or we have music club. And just gardening in the summertime, just for individuals to be able to pick specific interests and just sign up just for those time frames. They don't necessarily have to be staying with us for a week or a weekend or, a couple of days. They can schedule for a few hours here and there. A lot of the school buses drop off here, and transportation to and from day programs and things like that. Like they'll drop off here so we can have somebody go from work to hanging out at the cottage for a few hours. And a lot of times we fill that gap for a lot of families. A lot of these programs in school end at 3:00 or even before. And a lot of caregivers are working still. So, we sometimes will schedule those some fun social activities during that 3 to 5, 3 to 6 time frame so that we can kind of fill that gap for a lot of families as well.
Very nice. Yeah. And I wish I had a cooking club I could be a part of. That sounds super awesome. I was just
mine is called home.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been obsessed with this. I've been obsessed with this Lord of the Rings themed cookbook I found the other day, and I've been cooking like a madman. Dinner's been costing way more than if I would just go to a restaurant. So I was I need to chill out on this. But yeah. So what's kind of the history of Kaitlyns Cottage? Because it's from your website, obviously people can learn a little bit, but you've said you've been there since the beginning. So how did this whole thing come together? Because it sounds like a really awesome place that helps people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Kaitlyn is a 27-year-old young lady that lives here in Defiance with her family. Mm-hmm. And essentially the whole concept of Kaitlyns Cottage came from a grandma's dream. Grandma and grandpa are very influential individuals in Defiance and really awesome people. Grandpa has been on the board of our hospital, Defiance Hospital, as well as on the board and active with the ProMedic health system in general. So even Toledo and all of those activities out there. So kind of just his friends, their friends are ProMedica, people here and there. But it really came from the fact that Kaitlyn was 18 years old and really mom and dad were trying to make a decision on whether to keep her in school or whether to have her graduate, and then, what's next? Of course, any other 18-year-old out there, that whole, what am I going to do next sort of thing. And Kaitlyn has Rett syndrome. She's full care individual, nonverbal, extremely expressive, which I know you guys know what I mean by that. We know what she wants, but has some medical, things going on. And, it just really was sort of a crossroads that, the teacher in the classroom was going to change, and mom and dad were just trying to decide, are we going to start all over again with a new teacher or just go ahead and have her graduate? But, if we had her graduate, then, that puts her at home, 24/7. And, they have real, concerns and about her social life and just the idea of, not having to be, with mom and dad with her sisters 24/7, that she has friends and she has needs outside of their family as well. So that kind of is one side. I think grandma really recognized as really an extra set of hands from, mom and dad, that they were getting older. Everybody's getting older in the situation, caring for Kaitlyn. physically was going to get more difficult, as time moved on, just because the caregivers were older. Grandma and grandpa spending a lot more time in Florida. And so just not even in the Defiance area as often as possible. So, they recognized that, Kaitlyn has 2 younger sisters, and mom and dad are very active, in coaching and field trips and all of the things, at that time. And grandma just thought that it would really be a cool thing for Kaitlyn to have a place to go that wasn't work, it wasn't school, it wasn't, another doctor's appointment or hospital stay or therapy, feel that it really was a home away from home, comfortable, cozy, and just relaxing and fun, but of course that there would be professional staff there that were able to, meet her needs and meet the needs of her friends. So that's kind of really where the concept came from. It just so happens that, when discussing with friends, hopes and dreams for their grandkids' futures, the right question was asked, the right person asked, what about Kaitlyn? And grandma shared that this was a dream that she had for Kaitlyn and her friends. ProMedica in general is, I think, such a community-based giving organization and really looks to the community and tries to meet the needs of the community, especially, in all of the hospitals and, in the towns and cities that the particular hospital sits in. Defiance in general, I think, was really expanding and sort of blazing some trails in the special needs world. Defiance College was beginning an autism studies program so that somebody could get, a degree in that. And then even further than that, they had started to house a high school classroom of individuals with autism on campus so that they could, do coffee carts in and among, administration and teachers and stuff, and they could learn their skills. They just happened to be right there on campus. And then even more than that, Defiance College started what they call as their affinity program. And this is an opportunity for individuals with autism to go to college and get their degrees and have the support surrounding them, mentorships and, special housing and just looking to have connections for social interactions. And then just the check-in, have we showered today? Have we, what does our living space look like? Do we need to clean up? Just sort of those extra things that they knew that individuals with autism, might, need. And so they have this really cool program, that allows those supports, very unique to the country itself. So Defiance is a small town, but they were really doing big things in the world of developmental disabilities. And so they were reaching to the ProMedica, our Defiance Regional Hospital, and just kind of using resources and, smart people at the hospital to help with them. And this idea of Kaitlyn's Cottage sort of just fell at the right time. So it was definitely a matter of right time, right place, right people. ProMedica reached out to Dan and Sharon Farrell, who are grandma and grandpa of Kaitlyn, and asked if they would like to make their dream a reality. And so that's ultimately where it came from. Grandma and grandpa made a significant donation. They continue to make significant donations, which is awesome. And then they presented the idea of Kaitlyn's Cottage at a hospital fundraiser. Just some people that, might have the means to be able to make some things happen. And grandma got up and shared her dream for Kaitlyn's Cottage, and fundraising started that night. The amazing thing is that from the time that this concept was presented in June of 2011 to our community and fundraising began on that, the capital fundraising, we actually opened our doors, and that's complete building, hiring, the whole bit, building, hiring staff, training staff, all of those things in June of 2012. So that happened in a year. Kaitlyn's Cottage was definitely, if you build it, they will come scenario. There wasn't case studies done and, need surveys and all of that stuff. It really came down to the fact that if there was a need in really Kaitlyn's life, where financially, their family had the means to provide anything that she would need, that there was a bigger need, that sometimes money can't buy, then why wouldn't that be the case for, any other individual that has special needs in our area? So not even just our area. We made a lot of big decisions that kind of blow people's minds. We made the decision not to take government funding. So
That's exactly where I was going to be getting to, because when she explained to me the model behind it, I got quiet. I was like, it didn't make sense to me. But after she explained it, what you're about to do now, it's like, whoa, they're really giving back in such a way. You're not draining waiver funds. But yes, so please explain.
Yeah, so a lot of thought was put, on where Kaitlyns Cottage would be located, as well as how we would be funded. The thought was there. Do we take the waivers? Being as close, when they decided the location would be on the campus of Defiance Regional Hospital, just being this close throws in a lot of tricky things with Medicaid and waivers. We wanted and we're very sure that this needed to be a home-like environment and not a hospital-like environment. And so with our, proximity to the hospital, taking Medicaid waivers, that would throw in a whole nother realm of essentially making us an extension of the hospital, a department of the hospital, which would throw in a lot of inspections and a lot of regulations that are hospital level. And that's just not what, we didn't want that vibe. There's a need and a reason for that. This wasn't going to be it. So that was a huge reason. And the other reason simply was that not all individuals have waivers. And we wanted to make this affordable. Kaitlynn's family was, very adamant on the fact that we didn't want to turn anybody away for for an inability to pay. And so we, again, just, put a lot of faith in our community and in our donors, and decided that we would just have it be private pay. And then, there's a lot of talk about, how much does it cost for private pay? Obviously, it costs quite a bit to have staff in the building, and then to keep people in the building, and to always have food on the table and lights on and activities and all of the things, and gas in our van and all of that. That number stacks. That number gets higher and higher. That's where our donors came in again for us. And we began to build an endowment fund so that we could shift the rate down to something that would be reasonable for our families. And so we made the decision that the base rate for somebody self-paying would be $8 an hour, but we would use the National Poverty Guidelines and scale that down as needed for individuals. So we currently have many families that are coming for, are using our services for $2 an hour. So it just really, they fall between that $2 to $8 an hour range. We've also made the decision again that if somebody presented with the inability to pay even the $2 an hour, whatever, the minimum would be for that family, that we would provide service for free for them. So we just have families and donors and friends and all of the, things that just really believe in what we're doing. I think obviously ProMedica is very helpful to have in our back pocket, because they believe in what we're doing. And so it just is very unique in the sense that we are on a hospital campus, which provides security and, just obviously the proximity should an emergency happen of any nature. And then the connection that I have with the leaders over at the hospital as well, that if I have a, medication question, I can call the pharmacist. If I have a care question, then, I can call, one of the administrative nurses, or the VP of patient care, over at the hospital. And HR questions and things are run through ProMedica. It just really takes a lot of those extra things off of our back by having ProMedica there. And it allows for that money, those donations to come in to go directly to our operations to provide care at a cost that's affordable for our families. So we have a lot of families that come in. They panic at the idea of, not accepting waivers and how am I going to pay for that? Then I pull out the scale and I tell them where they fall. And, and then we have tiers because, they can't afford care. and not only just care by professionals. So it's pretty remarkable, I think, just sort of how we came about and how we stay. And our donors are friends. There's a lot of people out there that, write checks and that's obviously fantastic and needed in so many ways. The great thing about Kaitlyns Cottage is that our donors come and volunteer, and our donors stop by and say hi and follow us on our, social media and and just step up over and over and over again for all of the needs that we have. I mean, something simple as me saying, hey, we'd like to carve some pumpkins. So if you're grabbing a pumpkin for your family, can you grab one for us and set it on our front porch? And then, 3 days later, I'm like, okay, we now have a pumpkin patch here. So, we have to, thank you, but, we are good on pumpkins for a while. So that's just how Defiance works and how Kaitlyns Cottage is. It's just special. I think Kaitlyns Cottage has taught our community how to give again, and not just give with treasures, but also to give with time. And that's pretty special. Kaitlyns Cottage is just really cool.
Yeah, and community is very important. Obviously you have a great community surrounding what you're doing, which is, awesome. And I think a lot of places have a lot to learn about how to build a good community like that, because in the end, that's what it all boils down to, is the people around you that can help you and you can help, and what service you're providing for the community at large, because, the disabilities community is fairly large and it's fairly unnoticed by a lot of people unless they're, impacted. So what has your experience been like, probably coming from a non-DD field to now this is what you do for a living? So how has that experience been for you? Like positive, negative, anything that you've experienced?
This has been this is not a job for me. This is extended family for me. Mm-hmm. So I get to come to work every day in a beautiful place. I get to come to work every day where, the second anybody sees me, there's that whole Kelly, and, people, our individuals, I might be sitting at my computer working on, billing or something, and participants are running in my door, to hang out with me. And, and when I need to or want to, I can put the business side away and go have fun. So I'm excited about, 3 hours of chaos and cookie decorating tonight. I mean, who, wouldn't love getting paid for that? Bigger than that, Kaitlyns Cottage has, I think, given my family just so many things that we wouldn't have. We are one of those families that doesn't have an individual with special needs or, developmental disability in our family. Even cousins and aunts and uncles, all the way there. We don't have that. My children would not have. The school that my kids go to is not equipped to have, a classroom full of individuals, that have significant disabilities. So those, individuals go to another local school. Mm-hmm. So again, the exposure just really wouldn't be there. And so from the time that my kids were very little, this is their second home here too. And, the participants that I get the pleasure and honor of caring for, on a daily basis are their friends. Mm-hmm. And, to see them grow up and to learn that people with developmental disabilities are just people first. And, they have a lot of the same interests and needs and wants and desires and all of those things and they're just, again, there's a lot of cool people to hang out with. And so my children volunteer here and spend a lot of time here. My husband spends a lot of time here and volunteering here. And just even last night, a participant called us just to, kind of say Merry Christmas and whatnot. And, he made it a point for me to, tell Kevin, I said hi, Merry Christmas. And that's just kind of cool for my husband to be, included in that. And my kids' friends get to come and hang out and volunteer here. And we use them for volunteers for camps and outings and all of those things. So, and my kids have become advocates. Somebody uses an inappropriate word at school or in their, friend group. And I don't even have to stand up and say, well, we don't say that. My kids immediately, say,
Right to it.
that's not a word that we use, in our house, and there's lots of better choices. So I think Kaitlyns Cottage is life-changing, for all of us. My staff bring their kids and their families and hang out here too. And it becomes just a really big, thing where, we invite participants to my kids' graduation parties, and, it's just,
It's real community.
my staff have, and, invite participants to their weddings and, all of their things too. So I think it changes your life. I don't know a person who doesn't, or shouldn't work in, they maybe shouldn't work in the field if they don't feel this way. But, I think that I always tell my staff, most of them are college students, and this is a really good job for them to be flexible with their schedule and work around classes. And they're working on occupational therapy, nursing, special ed, all of the things. That they are part of the foundation of Kaitlyns Cottage, and that they've been, woven into the fabric of what we are. And they come back and they bring their families back and their kids back, and, just to hang out at Kaitlyns Cottage. So, this is a life-changing, thing. And, and I know that, and I look back and my path was here. It was led here. It obviously was created for me, before I realized that this was the path that I was going to be on. But I can't imagine not being in this field and being here at Kaitlyns Cottage and, loving the participants, that I get the honor of being part of their lives. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is, I just saw Tony pull up a list of questions. So I think this is going to bring us to one of our favorite parts of the show. Tony?
Rapid fire. Rapid fire is where we ask a few different questions in a would you rather format. I actually have one for you at the very end. It'll be a fourth one just because I'm curious. But hold on to your seat because this might get a little weird at times. But would you rather go shark hunting with a spear or lion hunting with a bow and arrow? Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go with lion hunting with a bow.
Okay.
My kids had the opportunity of being part of an archery program.
Oh, so you got a little knowledge there.
Well, and so every once in a while, a parent would, parents would be invited to show our not great skills to the world. And at least I would have more, background in
a slight advantage.
on spear hunting. Spear fishing. So.
Okay. Would you rather eat a nest of spider eggs or drink 8 ounces of pig milk?
8 ounces of what?
Pig milk. Yeah.
I can't do the spiders. I can't do the spiders, I don't think.
Pig milk. I've never.
Why would you think of that?
No, man, I'm weird. All right, last one. Would you rather drive to New York from California listening to the same song or fly watching the same TikTok clip? Yeah, either way, it's going to be horrible. You're going to hate that song and or that clip.
I think I'm gonna go with fly. It's shorter.
There you go. You're going to get a 15-second TikTok clip of all this stuff.
Yeah.
But my bonus one is, do you have any athletes because you said you wanted to have like a sports, medicine type of background.
Yeah.
Were there any particular athletes that you would have wanted to work with or, train?
Wow. I enjoy being the athletic trainer for hockey. That was one of my favorite sports to be an athletic trainer for. I think just the intensity of the game and the intensity of the athletes, and that's just such fast moving. I learned very quickly, some unique tricks for working with hockey players. A lot of times if they were injured, I'd have to hide a helmet or hide their skates. Especially if they came off the ice injured, then it was a matter of hand over your helmet, because as quickly as they switch and as intense as hockey players are, I think one of the first games I thought, okay, you got to sit for however long, or maybe we're done for the game because of an injury. And then, you turn your back, you look, and then you look back and they've already gone over the wall and they're back on the ice. So, but that was fun. I think there's, as an athletic trainer, I always felt respected with the hockey players. It was fun to be on the ice. And, just different. So I think, person in general, I think I just enjoyed hockey. That would be a fun sport to be with.
Kudos to that. Mighty Ducks. Like, that was my experience for the beginning of hockey. I grew up in the city, so I was the only kid on my block that actually had a puck, a street puck, and actual. All of the gear. I really thought I was going to be in the next Mighty Ducks or something. That lasted for a summer.
Yeah, classic. But before we end things here, why don't you let people know where they can learn more, and any contact information that you may have if there are people interested in coming to Kaitlyns Cottage and staying there, or any of that stuff.
Sure. So probably the quickest way to get to start the process of becoming a new participant, there is an intake process. The typical paperwork that has to be filled out so that we know who you are and what what you need, and all of those things. If you go to promedica.org / cottage, and that's KAITLYNS, there's an interest form. So if somebody starts there with filling out the interest form, that gets submitted directly to me, and I get a chance of looking over all of the different needs of the individual. We aren't a behavioral facility. We are also not a medical facility, by intention. So I, do look over those things. In general, I'm pretty open and willing to work with many things. And if the individual is being provided care without, nursing, assistance in the home, then, likely they can receive individual, care with us. Just know that we don't have nurses on staff, and we don't have, behavioral specialists. So then when it comes to the, behavioral end of things, obviously we're just not going to have somebody that's extremely violent or aggressive, or that has some kind of a criminal past, because we do serve all ages. The youngest that we've had is under 2. So, it's not just for adults. And so, we have to be mindful of the fact that we do have individuals here that we have to, keep in mind their security and their safety as well. So those are just sort of things. So I kind of look through that form and figure out if things look pretty good on paper anyway, then I'll reach out to the caregiver at that point and schedule a tour and have the individual and their, caregivers come in and kind of tour the facility and check things out. And if we all agree that this looks like a good place, a good fit, then I'll give all the paperwork at that point for somebody to get started on things to get scheduled. Another great place, honestly, is just social media. We have a very active Facebook page. We're working on building our Instagram. So we use those a lot for posting pictures and activities, and you can really get a feel for the things that we do at Kaitlyns Cottage on our social media pages. You can get on YouTube and put in Kaitlyns Cottage, and there's some informational videos and stuff on there as well. And on our website, the promedica.org / Kaitlyns Cottage, there is a virtual tour, which is kind of fun to be able to sort of move throughout the building and get an idea of really just the home-like environment that we have, the coziness and the fun and, special rooms and things like that. So those are really great ways. Of course, anybody can call me at any time. Our phone number is 419-783-4411, and my extension is 1. So I'm willing to talk and ask, answer questions and all of the things that, might be out there that caregivers want to sort of get to know about Kaitlyns Cottage.
All right. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for sharing all this awesome information with everybody. And for everybody listening or watching, don't forget to subscribe and like this on YouTube. Or if you're listening, leave a rating or review. And, I will put all of the information that you just said and links under the video and audio and all that stuff so everybody can find it. And, we want to thank you for taking time out and just even enlightening us about this and what respite care is. So do you have any closing sentiments for people that maybe personal anecdotes, anything like that you feel like is really important? Doesn't have to be related to the DD field. It can be anything, life lessons, any of that stuff, because we love that stuff.
I really do feel like, that old saying that, if you do what you love for a living, then you'll never work a day in your life. And, I really feel that. So, I'm definitely blessed to be doing, that every single day, and can't imagine being anywhere else. So I will be here forever as long as I'm, able to do that. And other than that, just goes back to that whole concept that we all deserve a break. We all need a break, and you as a caregiver, need a break, and that's okay. And as an individual, maybe that's an easier way to look at things is, they need a break too. And so we are here to meet the needs, of your family, of your individual. And, we're just open, for suggestions and ideas and comments and, all of those things that just to help us grow. And, thank you guys for doing this. I had, took some time and went back and watched, some of your podcasts from before, and
thank you.
Just really cool and fun, and a great way to just advocate again, for the individuals that, are pretty special and pretty cool in this world.
Well, thank you, Kelly. That was very kind of you to say. We hope to continue doing it and blow the lid off of this wonderful field, and, continuing to make people, and especially our DSPs, looked at as actual healthcare workers and not just So thank you so much for all you do. It was a great conversation. I loved it.
Thank you, guys.